Good morning, everyone. So I see that PEI is the butt of a few jokes here this morning. As Howard said, who wants to talk about PEI? PEI, we are definitely the minority of the minority of the minority. In my case, I work in the immigration file to attract Francophone newcomers to PEI. So I work for the RED, which is le Réseau de Développement d'Employabilité, which is the Economic Council for Economic Development in our province. So we work on several files, one of which is immigration. And in Prince Edward Island, immigration in terms of strategic planning from our provincial government is relatively young. And in the French file, we're talking about perhaps 5 or 6 years, where we actually have a strategy to help increase our population through immigration in Prince Edward Island. So I'll tell you a bit about our province. If I can get this thing to work, here we go. So PEI, the population of PEI is about the population of St. John's, as I understand it. 149,000 population on the island. For Francophones, we have approximately 5,000 Francophones on the island and 12,000 Francophiles, which are that do speak French, people that do speak French. So we're talking about a population of 17,000 people who are bilingual in the province. And those are the hubs that we have for the population. What's great about living in a small province is that, in our case, the Francophone community, we work together on one strategic plan for our population. And we have a new plan that we have worked out for 2017 to 2027, 10-year plan. And the important part for us is around increasing the French first language population of the island. So in order to do that, with all the players at the table, we have built a very strategic plan with action plans that are associated with it to work on this common goal. So of course, to increase the French first language population of PEI, there are numerous ways that we can do that. At the RED, we work on youth repatriation within the province with different programs that we offer. But today, I'll speak to you a bit about immigration in terms of what we do for that. So of course, interprovincial migration, integration of Francophiles into our 6 French communities, franchisation, and youth repatriation. So, no rocket science here. Tell it like it is. So when we recruit folks and talk about our province outside of Canada, when we go overseas, for example, Destination Canada, Destination Acadie, the very first question that we ask folks when they come to the table, well, we ask 2 things, first of all. Number 1 is, do you speak English? We have a lot of folks in France who do not speak English that want to come to our province, and we have very frank conversations with them immediately to ensure that they understand that in our province, French is an asset, but if you can't operate in English, odds are you won't stay. We will send them over to our partners in Quebec because there's a higher chance that they can definitely live their life 100% in French in that province, whereas they can't in Prince Edward Island. Also, when we do our recruitment, we tend to recruit outside of the big cities overseas. So you won't see us in Paris or in places like that. You'll see us in northern small communities that have a very similar lifestyle than we do in Canada, in PEI, I should say. And that nice, lovely picture to the left, I took that picture. That was 2 winters ago, as you remember. It was god-awful winter. But it's the reality. And at work, we had many newcomers that we had to work with, and I'm sure Craig in your shop as well, who had an awful time getting through that winter. But it's the reality of where we live, as you know. So when we talk about attracting Francophone immigrants in our province, we tell them what makes us unique. So what do we have in Prince Edward Island that doesn't exist in the other provinces? What makes us unique? And in Prince Edward Island, we have 6 Francophone communities. Each French community has a French school. And the model that is used in Prince Edward Island is a community center/school. So the community actually migrates around the school with a community center. So there's a theater. It's where is housed all the activities for the families, for the children, etc. And we're the only province in Canada that has that. We have 6 communities, 6 French schools. There's many schools in PEI that offer French immersion, but these are 6 Francophone schools in the heart of our 6 Francophone communities. So we will really hit home on those points that make us a little bit different than the others. Il Branchi is an example of a technology platform that we have in the province, where very quickly online, all of those 6 schools will advertise their community activities, and we have well over 2,000 people that are branched into that technology platform. So when newcomers come and they come into our office, it's one of the first things we show them. So where can they go for courses on XYZ? Where is there a show playing on Tuesday night? So that we can help get them out and integrated in our community as quickly as possible. As well, we do strategic recruitment based on labor market needs. And I'll give you an example of that. In Prince Edward Island, in those 6 Francophone schools that I had on the previous slide, there are early childhood centers where they take infants from the age of 1, and they will keep them up until they're ready to go into kindergarten, into the school system. There are no privately run daycares that offer French services in PEI. There are those 6 centers within the schools that take children. We have a waiting list for kids to get into those daycares because we are unable to recruit workers, enough workers, I should say, to work in those centers. These are children who have the right for an education in French, and unfortunately, we have to turn them away. And odds are, and statistics show, that if these children go into the English childcare, more often than not, 90% of the cases, they will go into the English school system. So we will lose them. So we have a very big need currently for employment jobs in the early childhood sector. So we are specifically recruiting overseas for those positions. And by doing that, when we first started working on this approximately a year or a year and a half ago, we realized that we had people overseas that were sending in their applications, trying to immigrate to Prince Edward Island to work in these fields, but we did not have any credentials. We didn't have anything in place to evaluate their credentials, to very quickly turn it around and to be able to bring them to Prince Edward Island. So with the provincial government, we put together a working committee, and with some funding from the province, there's currently research being done right now that we should have by the end of this year for specific schools in northern France that have programs that will be recognized in our province. So when they apply, it will be a very quick process to get them through. And of course, the point about wanting them to stay. So it's all wonderful if we get them to come to Prince Edward Island, but are they staying? We're not talking about big numbers. In the last 2 years, we've welcomed 49 families in our communities, and all of them have stayed, which is good for us. These are just a sample of ideas and things that we do in the province to help them integrate and stay in our communities. And with that, thank you.